Hello and welcome back to another Monster Monday, a series where I draw a creature from D&D and I talk about its lore and its history and what it's like to fight in-game. Today's creature has been requested an absolute ton recently, but the first person to request this was Trey Wrath, who has a fantastic name. You sound like a kind of gunslinging priest in a western film. But Trey requested the Behir. So what is a Behir? They're enormous lizards, often mistaken for flightless dragons, they have no wings, who are commonly described as being somewhere between a millipede and a crocodile. Their huge bodies span 40 feet, or 12 meters, which gives them just enough room for their many sets of legs. They have 12 very short, sort of Johnny Bravo style legs that they use to climb difficult terrain. They have little talons on the end, claws. They can climb difficult terrain 40 feet per round, but if they're on flat ground, they're known to let their legs go limp or perhaps fold them away, as a bird might with its wings, and slither on their belly instead as a serpent would, at which point they can move 50 feet per round, so they're very quick. Aside from their reptilian features, the main reason they often get confused with dragons is because they're famous for unleashing a tide of raw energy in the form of a lightning breath attack. Every turn it has a 1/3 chance on a d6 roll to be able to breathe a 20-foot long, 5-foot wide line of electricity that deals 12d10 lightning damage to those unlucky enough to fail a dexterity saving throw to dodge out of the way. Despite this feature, their appearance and their only known language that they can speak in 5e being Draconic, sometimes spoke Common in some other editions, but despite all of that, they despise dragons and will hunt to kill them if they know one is nearby. They were created by giants during their 1,000-year war with the dragons, and they were created to shoot them out of the sky, sort of like huge reptilian lightning cannons. Now, I talk about giants and their vendetta with the dragons in my Frost Giant Monster Monday. I'll leave a link to the end that you can click on after the end credits, hopefully in the description as well, in the little description box if I remember that. But suffice to say, this venom and animosity was passed on from the giants to their creations. Behirs make their lair in warmer climates, usually buried deep within tall mountains, where they can trap wandering creatures to eat, or sometimes to hibernate during the winter. They don't like it when it's too cold, but they will never make their home anywhere near a dragon. If they catch wind of a dragon settling within a few dozen miles of their home, a Behir will attempt to drive them off or kill them if they can. Now, I really want their appearance to look subtly different from a dragon here, so I'll be taking a lot of inspiration from moray eels for this illustration, just to make them stand out and be a little bit different from dragons. But I also chose this because I think moray eels look fantastic. They have really wonderful and interesting features that I don't very often get to draw, but also I wanted to draw this connection to electric eels. That said, I was really surprised to find out that despite their name, electric eels, super look like eels. They have these kind of like dorsal flaps, these fins on the tops and the bottoms of their bodies, just like a lot of eels. They're not even of the same species or genus as eels. They are not eels at all. Electric eels, despite their name, are actually fish. They're what's known as knife fish, which are usually characterized by being bony, long, and thin. But that said, Behirs do have a few similarities to eels that I'm going to capitalize on with this illustration. Just like moray eels, Behirs are known to often swallow their prey whole. They can make 2 attacks per turn, one of which is a bite, which deals 3d10 plus 6 piercing damage, which is horrendous. And they can also constrict creature. You don't get out of the way if you don't resist this. That grapples unsuspecting players, and it deals 2d10 plus 6 bludgeoning damage as the Behir's prey's bones are crushed under the pressure of its vice-like grip. But then there's also a further 2d10 plus 6 slashing damage as all these little rows of small taloned feet twist around the victim, dicing them to ribbons like they're in a blender. They are slowly entombed by the Behir's body. Worse still, if a player is grappled by that attack, in the next turn the Behir can then swallow them whole, just like the moray eel. In this action it gets to make another bite attack, then the Behir slides the prey into their gullet, after which point a creature takes 66 acid damage each turn as they are slowly digested, but the target can try to break free. They have to somehow deal 30 damage or more in a single turn to the inside of a Behir despite being blinded and restrained while swallowed. So Behir is pretty terrifying to begin with, but on top of all of those attacks, it also has a massive 17 armor class, again, sorry for spoilers, and an absolute boatload of health. I'm not going to tell you how much, just so encounters aren't completely boring for players, they don't know what's going to happen. Behirs are immune to lightning damage, unsurprisingly, but they also boast a whopping 23 strength and 18 constitution. So with all of that compacted together, I can definitely see why these creatures are challenge rating 11. But I was a little bit curious. Aside from being constructed by giants, I wanted to discover where the Behir had come from, what had inspired it. As it turns out, the Behir was introduced in 1982 through the Lost Caverns of Sojkanth module for 1st edition, and it was very likely based on a mispronunciation of the Scottish mythological beast called a Behir, Beithir, which meant serpent, lightning, and thunderbolt, all in different contexts. Despite its name, however, although a serpent or flightless dragon, a Behir couldn't produce lightning, but was rather summoned by lightning, rather lightning strikes that hit the ground on summer nights. Very, very specific. Just like the Behir, the Behir lived in mountains and cave structures. It had one striking difference to the Behir. More like a wyvern, the Behir was known more for its mystical venomous sting. It had a really powerful sting at the end of its tail. It's believed that if you had the misfortune to be stung by the Behir's tail, the two of you would then have to race to the nearest loch, other large body of water. If you managed to submerge yourself first, then you were freed of this poisonous curse, but if the Behir reached the loch first, then you were doomed to die. Another interesting feature of the Behir, their emergence as a kind of undead creature in Scottish mythology. It's believed that if a snake were ever killed, the tradition demanded that its head be separated from its body. They would be taken to other sides of the town, and then both separate parts would be burned and destroyed. Importantly, this had to happen in separate locations, because otherwise one or both parts of this decapitated snake would then grow into a Behir, into a Behir. However, in a weird twist of fate, if the decapitated head of the snake was submerged in water, it could be brewed as a kind of tea, and that tea could be drank as another potential means of curing a Behir's sting. So perhaps the cost there is that the head tea can cure a dying friend of the Behir's sting, but the body will grow into a new Behir, making life difficult for someone else, but alleviating the struggle for someone that you know. Perhaps a kind of metaphor, a lesson about selfishness, and the whole idea of the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few. Either way, it's a cool additional feature, cool little nugget of lore, and something which could spice up your game if you used the traditional Behir a little bit too much recently. Maybe one of your party gets stung, or, swallowed. Perhaps it happens if the Behir swallows it. Maybe you could use the stats for a wyvern and call it a Behir. Either way, they get stung, they get cursed somehow, and they can be cured. They can be cured. They're fated to die. But the only thing that will cure them is something that will make the problem worse for somebody else. It'll make another one of these creatures that could then go on to sting another person. So now there's two of them out there in the wild, but at least your friend lives. What's the moral choice there? I love having no-win situations in D&D where just kind of like Fallout or Skyrim or something like that, one of these great Bethesda games, maybe even The Witcher as well, no matter what choice you make, there's no one absolute right answer. You have to just live with your decision. I think those are always the quests and missions that stick with you as a player. Either way, this was the Behir, guys. I had so much fun researching this one and drawing it as well, so thank you so much for your request, Trey. If you have a request, if you have a creature that you'd like to see me draw, please make sure to leave it in the comment section below. If it's not been suggested before, I'll definitely add it to my to-do list, to my draw list, and I'll make a video about it. There's so many hundreds of interesting monsters to draw, and I'm trying to get through the list in the order that I was suggested them. Even if it's 1 week or 1 year, eventually I'll get around to drawing your creature, if you suggest it. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave it a little thumbs up, a little like down below there. Maybe favourite it and share it with someone who'd like to learn about Behirs. Anything you can do like that massively helps the channel out, so thank you very much. If you really love this content and you want to see more of it every week, I release 2 videos every week, so make sure to subscribe for more. If you loved this drawing in particular and you would really like a copy for yourself, you can head over to my Patreon page, where at certain pledge levels you can earn not only this monster as a print, but also all the monsters that I draw this month, as a nice, neat little package, either digitally or physically. And your contributions help me make more videos like this and also improve the kind of content that I can make. So thank you very much if you choose to make a financial pledge on Patreon. Otherwise, guys, I cannot wait for next Monday. We have another favourite of mine coming up. No spoilers, but I will see you on Monday. Until then, thank you very much for joining me, and happy monster hunting! As it turns out, the Behir was introduced in 1982 through the lost caverns of Sojkanth. Lost Caverns of Sojkanth module for first edition. TSOJCANTH. Good grief, Gary, you're not making that easy for me. More vowels, please.